Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, one of the more challenging aspects of delivering better public services for New Zealanders is that from time to time governments need to make really tough decisions, and today has been one of those days. I want to applaud Dr Coleman, our Minister of Health, for the difficult decision that he has made to appoint commissioners to the Southern District Health Board, an organisation that I know very well, having worked there, albeit quite some time ago. I want to start my intervention by applauding those many thousands of hard-working staff of the Southern District Health Board, the regional hospitals and the contractors to the delivery of health services in the South, because they do a fantastic job for our people. But there is a problem, and there is a problem of financial viability that, as the Minister said, is very long-standing. During the period from my last year at Dunedin Hospital in 1996 until my first year as a Member of Parliament, the combined deficits of the Otago District Health Board were around $144 million. Now that sounds quite challenging in and of itself, but the budgeted deficits during that period were only half that. And what has frustrated successive ministers on both sides of the House is that successive returns to viability plans have been tabled and not adhered to. And so what is really important now is that there be a circuit breaker, and I think that's what the appointment of commissioners will do. But I was very pleased, albeit not surprised, to note the Minister of Health's commitment to the rebuilding of the clinical services block and the hospital in the foreseeable future. What is very important, however, is that those decisions on the configuration and timing of the rebuild are matters for clinicians and health building designers, not politicians. And I counsel Dr Clark, whose advocacy I admire with that, but I do counsel him against the political rhetoric around the rebuilding of that hospital, which, as I know from experience, is a very, very complex process. But I want to defend and applaud this government's response to the support for the Southern District Health Board in the best of times, when the so-called surpluses were many and plentiful. Labor did nothing about Dunedin Hospital, Mr. Speaker. They built a Chinese garden, but they can't rebuild a hospital. The previous Minister of Health and current spokesman for health in Labor has heavily criticised the fact that the windows in the operating theatre are leaking. Well, I've got news for Mrs King. They've been doing that for years, and she ignored it when they had an excellent opportunity. Now, when finances were tight and this government had straightened times, the commitment to all of our DHBs, and in particular the South, was maintained. The results are emphatic. A 30% increase in elective surgery throughput, reductions in waiting times for cancer treatment and emergency department. The worst part of Dunedin Hospital was the neonatal intensive care unit, which my youngest daughter spent some time in after she was born. I cannot believe the patience and good grace with which those workers spent years in terribly cramped and overcrowded conditions. It was this government that rebuilt the neonatal intensive care unit, the children's ward and the acute mental health ward at Waitakere Hospital. That's commitment. That is making sure that health services are maintained in straitened times and despite the financial challenges that the District Health Board faces. I want to wish the very best for the commissioners, all three of whom I know very well. Kathy Grant, Graham Crombie and Richard Thompson have a mountain of work to do, and it's encouraging to me to know that the community is behind them and will wish them all the best as they go on that path to viability. And yes, there are discussions about population-based funding formulas and regional rural adjusters and things like that. But the simple fact is, and we in the South should know this better than anybody, those Scottish settlers have given us that ethos of cutting our cloth to meet the need. We fix those problems not by ignoring the financial constraints that are set for the community. We live within those constraints and we make sure that we extract every ounce of value from every dollar allocated to the Southern District Health Board. That is the responsible thing to do. That is what the commissioners will do, and that's what I wish them all the very best in achieving.
The Honourable Clayton Cochrane.
Mr. Speaker, Andrew Little is right. This government did start off with a bit of a hiss and a roar, and then, as happens with many third-term governments, arrogant, out of touch with the community.